I ask all my guests this, man. It's like, because everybody has a different take, and we've already established, you're way in tune with the electronics and all that stuff's going on, and you're producing, you're writing. How do you feel about AI these days?
It kind of
TrevBeats Show, TrevBeats Show. TrevBeats Show, TrevBeats Show.
Today's episode is powered by Ecamm. All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, today's guest needs no further introduction. Welcome, J-Rod Sullivan to the TrevBeats Show.
Bro, thank you for having me on, man.
J-Rod, what's up, bro? How you doing, man?
Oh, man, I'm good, bro.
Good. Thanks for coming, bro. Appreciate it, man. So let's get right into it. It's like, you started uploading drum covers, I want to say, 2006-ish? 2006, around there? And now you're touring the world with, some of the biggest artists, Janet Jackson and people like that. So what was the biggest mental shift you had from going, from YouTube to actually being in the arena with these artists?
Man, so like the journey up until this point, I feel like now it's like I'm looking back over the journey and I see like everything that I've been doing up until this point has prepared me for this. Even when I didn't know, even when I was doing stuff and didn't really know how I was going to use it, or may have thought it was pointless to be doing it, it's like now I look back and I'm like, okay, that's what that was for.
Right.
And now I'm able to put it into action. So I think now is, or what it has been. It's like, even when I got with the Jeffrey gig, it's like the thing is now being able to retain all this stuff live and do it live, and put it into action, put all the skills into action, like the retention, being able to learn stuff fast and know it, knowing my gear when it comes to the trigger stuff and when to switch the patches, how to switch the patches and all that stuff, but just the professionalism of that. But like I said, it's like all these years that I even had I even bought a module, the old TD50.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It was just sitting in my basement. Like I was just buying gear, choosing to learn it just because, not even because I had something coming up, but just to prepare myself for the possible opportunity that was going to come. So like I had a TD50 like 6 or 7 years ago, just sitting.
Wow.
So it's like, but when I got the call, the opportunity to possibly go out with Janet, I'm like, dang, I already got a TD50.
Right.
So it's like even though I hadn't like really spent a whole lot of time learning it for real, it's like I knew I could.
Right.
Because I already got it. It's like, okay, now it's time to dig in. So, but I can say, like I said, it's like the journey I've been on has prepared me for, where I'm at now. But I think the biggest mental shift is now putting it into action and
Sure.
and being a professional.
Yeah. It's a lot about, and it's a lot different. We could prepare and practice, but something changes when you actually have to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These days, have a lot more responsibility than, back in the day. It's like, triggers have been around for a long time. Don't get me wrong, but now there's so much, the tech is so good that, everybody wants you to do a lot. It's like, oh, well, since you can, cover this and cover that and cover this and make it in the middle of the song in a different section and then play it back to the original and then it's a lot, so you can see yourself on top of having to play. You got all this other stuff going on, which requires a lot of mental focus, man. Some of the keyboard players with multiple boards and patches and, and the technology brings us into a place. So if you just playing drums and only focused on chops and just that, I think going forward, man, this is a necessary skill for a drummer to have, man.
Yes, man.
Yeah.
It really is. And especially on this type of level. And like this is my first gig on pop gig on this level.
Right.
So there were still a lot of things I had to learn. Just for example, Like when it comes like mentally, talk about the mentality. So like if I'm playing with Jeffrey, and this is no knock or anything. It's just different, two different gigs. So like
Right.
with Jeffrey gig or pretty much with any other, or even with my band, it's like I can be playing the music and I can have just a little random moment, just a different thought, like not even thinking about the music and kind of come back to it.
Yeah.
I can't do that with Janet. Because it's like as soon as I think about something else, Imma miss something. Imma miss a patch turn, Imma miss a note, a hit. It's just because it's so much going on in the music, like, and everybody's relying on each other,
Yeah.
to make this show push forward.
It's interesting, man, because, it's so funny because when you look at a show like Janet with the amount of stuff that people have in each individual rig, right? The guitar player, crazy, stuff changing, and keyboard player, crazy stuff, and the drummer. And it's like we've had the ability to have all that stuff automated for years. And it's
Right.
like very few times do you see a tour that is actually utilizing, patch changes from MIDI from everybody. You know what I'm saying? And it's amazing because it's just, I think for me, it's a little bit of a, I was asking somebody else this, and it's like, I agree. It's like, it's a little bit more, you feel more assured that it's going to be right when you do it yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Because
That's where I'm at, bro.
if you get a wrong patch change, it could just kill a whole song on our instrument. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Absolutely, bro. Absolutely.
So it's like
And
having that peace of mind, being able to change the patches and stuff ourselves. I feel you on that, bro.
bro, I have to, man, because it's like if something go wrong, even if it's under somebody else's control, I'm still gonna get blamed for it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's like if
So
it's wrong, let me get it wrong.
right. Exactly. That's real. No, man. That's just
Yeah,
honest talk. It's a
yeah.
pressure cooker up there, and there's no room for error because one,
Nah.
especially with songs iconic like Janet Jackson,
Oh,
one wrong snare drum sound, it's not the same song, and
no,
everybody knows it. Somebody, that's not
everybody.
something's off because we are so in tune with all that music, and it's in us
Yeah,
so many years. You play the
yeah,
wrong snare drum sound or whatever, it's like, hold on, man, what's going on?
yeah. And I mean, it's happened like things have happened, like
Right.
where I'll be playing a snare or a tom, and
Mhm.
it'll like my middle pad will get triggered.
Right.
Like it'll trigger a clap, and that's just
Right.
from the sensitivity and
Yeah,
threshold
yeah,
set.
yeah.
But like I think another important thing too is as us for us as drummers is knowing how to troubleshoot
Sure.
under pressure. And like just
You
just
knowing how to
yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
I mean,
And like
you. Yeah.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And like knowing how to fix a problem, like what to do in those situations. So
Yeah.
if the snare is like misfiring or whatever, like just knowing what to do in the situation. Like me personally, if I got a wrong sound, or if it's just like the snare trigger is going crazy, Imma personally kill the trigger.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's just knowing stuff like that, I feel like is important too.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that we sometimes it shouldn't be, the tech should not be a crutch. Like, I believe that all drummers should know as much as their tech or more. Like, if you
Yep.
hire a tech and you don't know as much as they do,
Yep.
that's, you gotta work on something because it's like, listen, anything might happen to them. We can't put a crutch on somebody that's not even behind the drums that you have
Nah.
to summon over, and sometimes that's not gonna happen in a bar. You know what I'm
N
saying? That's not
nah.
gonna happen in a small section if they off the side of the stage, right?
Right.
So it's up to us to learn this stuff, and I think it's just as important now as paradiddles, man, that we
Yeah.
know how to operate these electronics, at least to some degree, because
Yep.
that, just like AI, is definitely not going anywhere. We're not
It's
going
not
back. Yeah,
at all.
yeah, we're not going backwards, man. Let's talk
Yeah.
about the gear. So, you're another brother, Team Pearl, right? I've been interviewing a lot. It seems
Yes,
like
sir.
everybody's going to Pearl these days, man. Like, Pearl
A
is
lot.
big play right now, man. What's going on here, bro? Hold on.
Bro, hey, it's getting stacked over there, bro. It's getting stacked, bro.
Hold on, man. So, obviously you play Pearl drums and you play Remo heads, and what else? What else? You Sabian, right? You Sabian cymbals.
Sabian, I just went to Sabian
Okay.
last year,
Mm,
ProMart.
okay. Yeah,
Uh,
and
yeah,
electronics.
electronics rolling.
Right.
And
And then do you use any other pads or?
Dawes pads.
Oh, okay, Dawes, right.
Yeah, Dawes. Yeah, Dan Dawes. He reached out, or I reached out. We connected, and I got some of those for the tour as well.
Yeah, that's like a Q thing. Q was talking to him. I remember them from back in the day. I mean, I probably have owned a few in my life. I have no idea where they are. They're somewhere in some storage somewhere. But I remember he was early. You know, he was
Yeah,
early.
he was early. I think actually Q put me on that too as well. He
Yeah.
he connected us. But
Okay.
yeah, I love those too. I love obviously the look of them.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, so that's that's some pretty dope gear. But it's like when it came to the configuration,
Mhm.
what was your vibe? Like, how did you approach configuring it? Like, did you get with your tech, or did you just have it all mapped out and he just built it, or are you hands on? Like, how do you approach that stuff?
Nah, I was hands on, man, because
Mhm.
like for me, my thing is I want to feel comfortable. I want to feel like I'm home.
Yeah,
Uh, so I pretty much when I first started going through the show and learning it, I was already thinking about my setup and kind of configuring where I wanted to have certain things, and then obviously I tweaked it once we got the rehearsals. But my thing is, it's like I don't want to have to second guess where things are,
yeah,
and that's not how I built it. So like I know for a fact that like when I switch the patches in it throughout the show, it's like I know that's on my left. So forward, backwards. So I got two Dawes pads right here in the front, one in the back to go forward and backwards. So and then also as far as like my just say for example, snaps, claps, and stuff like that, I have this another Dawes pad like in the center of where the kit is. So it's like going through that and making sure that I'm comfortable and know exactly where everything is. But pretty much how it went, like I was learning the show at home and just going through the setup and making sure that I'm comfortable and know exactly where everything is. And then when we got the rehearsal, some things changed a little bit and I was able to, tweak it and kind of refine things. But that's pretty much how I went. And then my tech as far as like shaving down the hardware, the boom stands and all that stuff, that's pretty much where he came in the picture. But
mm,
I was pretty much hands on the whole process though.
yeah. That's tight, man. So, and I can't recall. Are you using a rack or are you using stands? Using a rack.
I am. I'm using the rack. Yep.
Okay, yeah, got you. That's cool.
Yep.
It always helps to have a great drum tech too, man, that understands and
Oh yeah.
has a high aptitude of skill and wants to see it a certain way. You know what I'm saying? Because they can come in and like streamline everything that we might have conceptually, and make it a reality. So that's dope. Well, everything I've seen, man, it looks and sounds amazing, bro.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, man. It's like, you know, um, the way you're playing obviously is what sticks out in front, but all the
Right.
gear wise, man, you killing that gig, you covering that gig. Now, I'd imagine on something like Jeffrey Osborne, it's a little bit more, like streamed down.
Way Yeah, definitely streamed down on that. Not so much electronic stuff going on. It's
Mhm.
just the standard stuff.
Got
Clap, snap, all
Yeah.
that kind of, but
But
it's
still,
still
wow, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
just a little bit, but it's no tracks going on in that gig at all. Everything's live.
Ah, I see.
Um, so it's like, that situation is obviously a little bit more free.
Hmm.
Um, Definitely different than the Janet situation. But yeah, it's yeah, that's how that situation is. He's like he's doing a live thing, I think, forever.
Right.
Like he don't really he doesn't really, I guess like playing to tracks.
Right.
Um yeah, it's a live situation for sure, all the way.
Well, a lot of people don't know, and I'm not sure if you know or not, but he's a real skilled engineer, and a lot of people don't know that.
I didn't know that.
Time we talk to him, ask him about mixing.
Definitely.
Ask him about mixing.
Really? Hey, see, all I knew is he was a drummer.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
I
that,
didn't know he did engineering too though.
ask him about that.
Okay.
I've heard through the grapevine. So, but yeah, man, like at the end of the day, it's like you've been out there doing your thing. I mean, and you're one of the first people that I can really say. I mean, I didn't know you back in '06, but knowing the story, it's like I imagine. I mean, you're one of the early people that has gotten on social media, got successful, and ended up actually doing real work. Because a lot of people stay
Yeah,
there once they get
yeah,
to a certain level, but you actually got big on there, but actually still are in the music business and really doing music, which is dope.
yeah,
Not that you're
yeah.
not doing music on social media, but I'm saying a lot of people, once you get there and start doing, affiliations and brand deal, a lot of people, that kind of substitutes for the traditional music career. So you're
Right.
the first people I've seen that actually took it from the beginning and rode it all the way to being professionally in music. So that's super dope.
Yeah,
You know,
it is. I'll say
2006
that.
were different. You know?
Right. And I'll say like my goal when I first started posting on social media, it wasn't to become a content creator.
Mm-hmm.
And that really wasn't even a thing back then. It
Hmm.
was just YouTube was in the early stages, and all I saw on YouTube was like people just posting like just random videos. Like first drummer I saw was this guy named Casey Cooper.
Okay.
Uh, and I saw a video of him. He had like lit his sticks on fire and was twirling the sticks. So that just sparked the idea in my mind for to start, posting content and start just sharing my videos of me playing drums to hopefully get noticed by, people outside of my city so I can start getting out and,
Yeah.
new people and stuff like that. So that's initially why I started doing that. But then, the content creator thing came about and, influencers and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
I was I was doing a little bit of that too, kind of going to I guess doing the more I guess gimmicky, trendy stuff, you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
it's like
Right.
I did a little bit of that too, but then I chose to like kinda do a little bit of that, but not all the way in it. So it's like I still wanted to have the respect of my peers
Right.
in
Sure.
music business, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in the music industry, so it's like I really just focused on being a musical drummer
Yeah. That's right.
and and online, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like not just doing stuff that's trending, but serving music and showcasing that online. That was my main thing. And then I'm like, okay, as long as I do that, the right people will hear it, and my work is going to be seen by the right people, and they'll
Yeah.
reach out for,
Yeah.
opportunities. Yeah, so that was my thing. Just getting more work, getting noticed. That was my initial goal.
Yeah, well, it worked, bro. I mean, you
Yeah,
did it the right way, and then now your talent and your off court demeanor and how you conduct yourself is what's keeping it going. So that's beautiful, man. It worked out, incredibly. So I know you have your group, and we'll get to that. I got to see you all at one of the Jam Jams, which was killing. But before we
mhm,
get into that, let's talk about the comeback. So that's your
yeah.
debut album, and on this now you wearing all the hats, right? You're not just playing drums, you producing and programming, arranging and all that. So,
Yeah, yeah.
it is a thing. We're used to being support and in the background. And when we have to jump in the front and take those leadership roles, it requires a bit of a shift, for the regular drummer mindset, right? So when it's time to do that and you got to jump into producer mode, how are you making that switch? Like when you have to build something from the ground up and it's just you. I know you play a lot of instruments, so I know
Mhm.
you're capable of doing that. But to keep it objective, how do you divorce yourself as the drummer and just look at it as, I'm just a songwriter, or when you're on every instrument, do you just act like that's the only instrument you play? Like what's your mindset when you're going in making music like that, and playing it?
So so for the comeback album, I wasn't the primary producer or
Okay.
composer. It
Got
was my bro Clarence T. Lee Hill on keys.
So that
So
helped a lot. Yeah.
whole lot. So basically how I went though, so like the comeback, that's the title track of the album, but how it came about is I had this track that I produced on my own, and it's like if I played the two together, you would be able to hear where like the idea came from or whatever. But
Right.
the comeback single was totally different from what it is now. And when I told Clarence, I was like, "Hey man, I want to do my own album."
Yeah.
And I wanted that Four Corners influence, but something slightly different.
Right.
So yeah, I called Clarence. I was like, "Hey man, let's do it, or let's do this." And I gave him the single, and we got up and we composed that kind of together. I had the drum groove, and I laid the bass pattern, the bass line.
Mhm.
He came and did the crazy stuff, the changes, the transitions, and all that stuff. We kind of built from there, and then but the way we finished the most of the record, like some of the songs on the record, Clarence had already composed,
Right.
and we came together and we was like made little small minor tweaks, but a lot of those records, some of those records were already composed.
I see.
Uh, and then maybe like 3 songs, that's when the rest of the guys we got together and just build on different ideas. and kind of that's how the whole record came about. But it was a collaborative effort though. It wasn't just me writing everything alone.
That's dope.
Cause
Yeah.
yeah, cause like, I already knew kind of, like I said, I wanted that four corners, sound,
Right. Right.
but something slightly different, like, just more groove, if that makes sense. So, but the same energy, but just more groove focused.
Yeah.
So like people can dance a little bit, but still have that fusion,
Yeah.
approach. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that
man.
was the
Well, that in itself is, a very that's a decision that is definitely, devoid of ego, right? You was like, you could do it, but you were
I
like,
could.
get a collaborative thing and get some other energy. And the music reflects that. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
And it's
right,
it's cool because it allows you to, still be a little objective and have some other influence than just only what you're thinking,
right,
100%. And that
right,
that call as a drummer, especially because we're usually not in the front, that call to me makes perfect sense, man, because it allows you to still do what you do. But yeah, you're gonna shine, you're gonna have some solos and all that, but it's like
right.
it still just sounds like great music, right? You know what I'm saying? It's just
Yeah, yeah.
music that happens, the drummer happens to be the leader on this one. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
It's like,
right,
"Beat
right.
is all drums, it's drums, it's
Yeah,
just
nah. That was the thing for me. It's like I don't want to. I wanted it to be, I guess drummer heavy,
yeah,
but not to the point to where the songs didn't feel good and sound good, and like not. I wanted something that people could turn on the radio in the car and listen to while they drive.
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but still have some musical things going on that were, like I said, just drummer heavy to where it's like, "Oh, that's dope, that's killing," or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
it's like having something people can ride to, but still be kinda, influenced musically too.
that's right.
Yeah.
Well, now I wanna jump a little bit back on the gear side. So, I know I just, did a crazy order Remo because I have my stuff going out because I'm about to go out on this tour with
Right.
this thing I do called Attack on Titan. And I know you're a Remo guy too. So Janet versus Four Corners, let's say, is
Mhm.
kind of a different sonic palette, right? So what is your thought process with heads, or do you just say, "Hey, this is my sound, I use it the same on everything"? Like how do you navigate those two different entities?
Um, well, I would say across the board, like I'm a clear vintage Emperor guy on
Okay.
times.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, I mean, certain I would say certain, honestly, the only time I really change the types of heads I use is when recording in the studio.
I see.
But for the most part, like I keep pretty much the same types of heads I use. So it's usually always the clear vintage emperors on times. I've been doing the Ambassador X on snare lately.
Mhm.
Uh, Um, and then the P3 blacked out on the kick. I mean,
Ah, yeah.
that's pretty much what I roll with for a lot of situations. But like I'll go through certain seasons or phases, whatever. I'm like, okay, let me try this and see how this is or whatever. And I'll try some different heads just to see how I like them. But for the most part, though, across the board, that's that's kind of what I stick with.
It
Yeah, I mean, obviously the tuning, like I'll tune different
Right,
slightly, but
right, right.
but as far as like my choice of heads, though, that's kind of what I roll with.
It's so funny, man, because, we never get it's like there's never any updates that kinda universally go out. I mean, we don't really look at magazines like we used to. There's never really any updates, and Remo has so many heads, and then we
Yeah,
all just gravitate to the same type of
we do.
it's just amazing how you can find out, and all of a sudden now I haven't used the P3 black dot. I've been using PS3s for years, clear or coated,
Mm,
but I never used the dot one, so Imma have to check that
oh,
out, man.
you you
Check
turned me on that one.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense too,
I was
man.
like,
You
and
don't have
this
to put
joint,
a patch on the bass drum, you don't
nah,
that thing on there if you play double.
you don't have to, but I mean, I still do.
Okay,
But
okay.
it's no, I love that kick, bro. I love the head because it's like the attack and the punch out of it is I love it, bro.
Well, shout out to my brother Chris and Roger and all the team over there at
Yes,
Remo.
sir.
I've been there since I was 15 years old,
Wow.
and almost 40 years, man. So that they're just, you couldn't ask for anybody better as far as the team goes. And product wise, we all know that they're the only company that has the exclusive contract for the film. So any other company, you're dealing with second. I hate to break it to you, but that's
hey, crowns up, baby.
So yeah, man, but that's super dope. And thanks for turning me on to that bass drum head, because I'm gonna check it out, man.
Yeah, check it out, bro. I haven't wanted to switch since I moved, man. Honestly.
And shout out to our homie Q. We'll be seeing him on the show too, man. It's like that's another guy that's really got a lot of stuff dialed in, man, and got a lot happening with the tech, and just a influential guy, man. So
Yes, sir.
shout out to Q. So okay, well now I have another question, because I'm new to this content space, and you've been killing it for so long. So when I noticed, you pretty much have a camera at all the important moments. So how do you set that up in your situations where it's kind of, where it's not no big spotlight on you, and it's like, but you still got everything you need, but it's not this big production. You know what I'm saying? Like, you seem to always have the camera in the right place at the right time. So how, and it's just the technical side of video production. How do you balance that while you're touring?
Okay, you mean like for the live situations, right?
Yeah. Also, I know you have more time when it's a controlled environment, but when you're on the road, man, it just seems like there's so many moving parts, and I know we have sound checks and all that, but it just seems like it is harder to navigate on the road, but you're consistent.
Yeah.
How do you go about that? Do you plan it, or how do you do that?
Yeah, so it's different for slightly different between the situations that I'm in. So like, I'll give you some examples. So like with my band and with Jeffrey,
Mm-hmm.
I have like a mic boom stand next to me. And I got this mount by Hercules, and it's for iPhone and iPad. I literally set it up next to me right here, kind of to where you can still see my hands and kind of like me and everything that's in front of me. I mean, you might not get like what's on like on the far right, like my ride and floor time and all that stuff, but make sure I got a good angle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much it. Like, I'm not even, for those situations, I'm not even using like iRig. I'm not getting no audio from the board. It's literally the audio from the iPhone.
I see.
For that situation. Now for Janet's situation, I don't record the shows on that. Not allowed to.
Right.
Yeah. But now, sound checks, rehearsals, I'm able to get that stuff. So that situation, I got like a mount on my rack.
Okay.
For specifically for the phone or for the iPad or whatever, and that's kind of how I place it there. And then I got my iRig Extreme that I use for my in-ear monitor.
Okay.
And then just run it to the device.
You split that?
Set it. Yeah, I do. Yep.
Got it. Wow.
Pretty much it, man. Like, it's nothing serious. I think the biggest thing is to make sure I got a good angle and that the lighting is decent.
Right.
And that's pretty much it.
And what do you use to edit?
CapCut.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I used to do Final Cut and iMovie and all that stuff, but when I CapCut, bro, I'm like, I can do all this on my phone.
It's killing, and the desktop too is unbelievable, man. Like,
I got it.
It's unbelievable, and the when they came out with the feature that you could just highlight the words, man.
Oh yeah,
you could just highlight the words, man, and just click on that, and it just does the edit for you, and it's so clean. I mean, I was doing it more, traditional and cutting. And I said, why am I doing this? And I forgot that you could do that. And the other day, I was like, wait a second. I just started highlighting words, man. I said, this is amazing. And they're constantly updating and constantly, you know what I'm saying, getting crazy. So that's dope, man. Yeah, those CapCut is great for editing.
I was sad when they had that little temporary ban on the TikTok. And I'm like, come on, man. At least y'all can leave CapCut alone, man.
Right. I know. Saying still bite dance. I know, man. That's crazy. But they're coming up, man. They kind of reminded me of like the FL Studio of video editing. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause they came up kind of almost like, more phone, playful, and then now they got serious and they're contenders and they're a lot easier to use. So I feel the same way about the software that I actually do my shows on, which is called Ecamm Live. I was searching for something that I could control that, control how the shows look without having to have outboard gear and switchers and all that kind of stuff. And
Right.
man, Ecamm is unbelievable. I mean, for instance, if you somehow, because you can use your iPhone as a source. So if you just
Right.
happen to have your laptop there running Ecamm and your iPhone in the same place, but you could do a wider shot, like a shot, maybe even sideways, right? And get everything, you
Yeah.
can turn that into like 10 different angles. So you can be close up from the side with the one phone feed, with the one phone. And
Well,
it
he
could
can.
just, you could just have it could be one shot and it turns into 7, 8 shots. You know what I'm saying? That you can edit just like anything else and individually, you know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Yeah.
bro, that alone is a killer function. You know what I mean? That a
I'm
lot
gonna
of
have to
people,
check it out.
yeah, it's cool, man, because you could just use your phone wirelessly or whatever, just as a source, and boom, and just capture it like that. And then, man, you can have all these different angles, just from
Wow.
one shot, one big shot. So,
Yeah.
I rock with them as far as capturing shows like this, but and I was asking you that about the road because I'm remembering to go myself. So I was just trying to
Right.
figure out what you do. I mean, I would have never thought you even use your phone to do this stuff. I thought
Bro,
you
it's
had
really
cameras and all kind of,
bro,
wow.
I've been using my phone for everything, but, like, I think something that, people who record on the phone don't know about is, like, if you set up the camera, I mean, you might not be able to see it on here, but if you set up the camera and you press and, like, hold,
I can't see it, but explain it. Yeah.
so you press and hold, like, on the screen where, like, once you get it set up where the camera's gonna be focused at,
Hmm.
once you press and hold on the screen, it'll lock it, and you can adjust the lighting.
Ah, I see.
So if the lighting isn't perfect where you at in the room, it's
Hmm.
like, or even if it's, like, blown out, if it's
Hmm.
too much light,
Hmm.
you can hold on the screen and adjust, like, how the exposure, and
Wow.
it'll make the image sharper.
Wow. So it's doing like automatic ISO and exposure stuff on the locked
Exactly.
in subject. Wow, okay, I gotta peep that because the new cameras are just they really updated that whole thing, man. Even when you're doing an interview, you can do double, dual capture,
Right, right.
which is great.
Yeah.
If you put a phone
Yeah.
in the middle and you can just do a full on interview with someone.
Right.
That's amazing. But that's good information, man, because like I said, you're one of the goats of this content stuff. And, it's good for people to see, what production goes into, what you're doing. So thanks for sharing that. Now, you've built a brand called Got Pocket from scratch. And a lot of young players have chops, but they completely lack the business discipline. So what's the secret of turning your passion for playing into a sustainable, recognizable brand? And how did this brand, come about?
Yeah, so, back in 2017, I had a follower who reached out to me. He was just asking, "Hey, do you have any merch online that I can support your brand because I like your plan, I like what you're doing, I love your content." At the time, I didn't, but that just sparked an idea for me to, put something out of my own. Initially, the idea wasn't to start a brand, but it was just to put out some merch. So, like he said, so people could support what I do.
Right.
Uh, and me, I I didn't want to just put something out with my name on it or my face on it. I wanted to put something out that was universal and that the drum community could relate to.
Yeah.
And that just got me to thinking of, different ideas. And one thing I remember when I was a young musician growing up is that older musicians, they were just like, just telling me, "Hey man, if you understand pocket, if you know how to play in a pocket, then you'll get the calls. Or pocket pays the bills."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Man, okay, that's definitely something that I believe in as a musician, and I believe that that's something I've kept in mind over the years, and that has contributed to my success as a musician." So obviously, Got Pocket is a play off of Got Milk.
Sure.
So I got with this designer that I know, and I was like, "Okay, how can we take Got Pocket but make it more appealing to musicians?" So that's how the drumsticks and the guitar and all that stuff came into play. So we worked on the placements of all that stuff and like how we wanted the logos to look, and it became a thing. So I put that out, like I said, under my own name at first, but then it just caught on, and started getting, more awareness and people started wearing it and stuff, and that's when it kind of branched off into its own thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that wasn't the initial idea, wasn't to start a brand, but that's kind of what it grew into.
Yeah.
But I think when it comes to brand in general, it's like my advice for the younger musicians is to start something on your own, something that only you can control,
Mm-hmm.
and playing and being a part of other entities is great, but I think when that ends, or if it ends, then you definitely want to have something you come back to and call your own.
Got you. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I would say, and that's what I've kept in mind over the years. It's like, the Got Pocket stuff, and even my own brand, my own music, my band, all that stuff is like, these are my babies. This is what I can call my own. I can be myself. I can, put out my own ideas. I don't have any. There's no ceiling to that. I can be as creative as I want to, and
Right.
that's it's just a good place to be in. So that's what I would say. Don't be afraid to put your ideas out there and just see where that can happen. You know,
Yep. Yep.
yeah.
That's what's up, man. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back. Real quick, if you're new here, welcome to the TrevBeats Show. Make sure you subscribe if you want to stick around. And for the regulars, if you ever feel compelled to throw some extra support our way, check out the membership options next to the subscribe button. It's strictly for those who want to help us do more, but your viewership is support enough. Now back to the show. So your band Four Corners,
Mhm.
I mean, you guys came on the scene crazy. Just all of a sudden, it was just like, bam. They was you was on all the feeds all the time, man. It was just, the timing was incredible. And I got a chance to check you guys out at one of Elmo's jams. And, shout out to Smitty too. I know he pulled up with the drums and, come on, man. The
Man, we gotta talk about too, man.
Pearl community, man, y'all are showing everybody out here, man. What's going
Man,
on, man?
oh,
So, yeah, man. I mean, and Smitty's somebody I've known, since I was a kid. And I if you guys want to know why we all respect him so much, there's two things I want my listeners to understand about Smitty Smith. You may not have caught him on the Jay Leno days. And if you did, you don't understand why we all go crazy. So there's two things I want you to go listen to. Go listen to the old Steve Coleman albums with the M-Bass stuff. And also listen to a jazz record called Without Delay that's on iTunes, and it's with the Benny Golson and Art Farmer Jazz Tet. Please listen to Without Delay to hear a young Smitty Smith in his 20s destroying the drums at a time that I was told that no one else in New York could even get through the chart at that time, at that speed. That's what I was told by the band leader. And not only did he get through the chart, what he did in a jazz club. Now, remember, this is the 80s. And when you listen to how futuristic this phrasing was and how heavy it was that 30-something years ago, almost 40 years ago, unbelievable. So shout out to Marvin Smitty Smith. And, he pulled up that night because family member, J-Rod's in town. Got to get the drums together, whatever, timing, whatever. Let me just pull up. See, we miss that. We don't see that enough. We don't see that enough, man.
Bro, Smitty is a real one, man. Like, how we met, he reached out to me on social media.
Yeah.
That's how we met. And he
Mhm.
was like, "Man, I love your playing, man. I love what you're doing. I support you. Let me know if anything you need." So I told him I was coming to LA.
Yeah.
I didn't even ask him to use his kit. I was like, "Man, we gonna be out here." He was like, "Man, I'm gonna bring my drum."
Yeah.
I was like, "Huh? Smitty?" Like, what? I mean, we had 2 shows while we were on the West Coast. We had the Jam,
Yeah.
and we had a show in Seal Beach in Spaghettini.
Yeah.
Both gigs, bro, he came through.
Hey,
I was
man.
like, "Man, I don't even that's real. That's support, man. He a real one, bro, for real."
That's different. So that's the other thing too, man. It's like he comes from a different generation and a different era, and it wasn't all this competition and
Right.
everybody was individual too. Let's
Right.
talk about that. I mean, everybody was individual, did their own thing. People weren't trying to copy each other, and everybody didn't sound the same. And you know what I'm saying? And that's another thing about you is like in this sea of, kind of a lot of people that somehow play similarly, you still have a sound. It's like there's a couple people that just rise up, and no matter what it is, not a couple, a lot of people that have a sound, and you're one of those people that has a sound. So, you come from the generation of all this stuff, but it didn't affect you like that. You know what I'm saying? So just
Yeah.
going off of the subject a little bit, what were some of your influences on the drums coming up? What were some of your influences?
Well, I think what contributed to that a lot is, back when I was I didn't grow up in as a drummer who knew how to play chops, right?
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't play really fast. I wasn't that musical. But when I was first, coming up, or coming up on the scene, the local scene, I did used to shed with a lot of people. I had a season of that, but I made a conscious decision to kind of stop doing so much of that and start spending time on the instrument myself, and just like allowing myself to just be free on the instrument. It's like I was still listening to music and stuff like that, listening to other drummers, but it's like I didn't do so much of that though.
Yeah.
And I just, like I said, I just allowed myself to kind of evolve and be within my own group of community of people, like my band, like Four Corners. That's really when I feel like I began to evolve. So like I started out in gospel music church. Calvin Rogers was probably one of my main influences.
Of course. Yeah.
Then when I joined Four Corners, that's when I was introduced to Dave Weckl.
Oh yeah. Come on.
So
Yeah.
Chick Corea Electric Band, I didn't really know about them until I got with the band.
Right.
So it's like I was introduced to that. So it's like I kept the gospel and R&B background, but then I got into this world, and my goal was to just kind of form my own sound, just allow myself to be me.
Right.
And like I said, just really spending that independent time on the instrument, I feel like is what kind of contributed to that. And then like I said, alongside being rehearsing with my band, like we used to get up and rehearse every Monday.
Wow.
When I first got in the band for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, like every Monday, we'd get up, rehearse for 5 hours, and I was just able to be creative every week, try different stuff, experiment. Um, so yeah, I think that's what contributed to it. But yeah, I would say the main influences, yeah, definitely Calvin and Dave Weckl for sure.
Yeah, and Calvin and I spoke a lot about Weckl because we
Yeah.
both share that whole being interested in that. I mean, I was a fiend with all that Electric Man stuff and Weckl. I
Wow,
mean,
yeah.
literally, the contemporary drummer, plus one. I mean, I performed that when I was in middle school, man. It's like I live by that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I brought the double cassette deck with the cassette and played it in the auditorium and played
Yeah.
ball and all that. So now the other thing we'll get back to the band. It's like, because I mean, your band sounds like a fusion band. Like, of
Mhm.
course, it's soulful and all that, and I hear that church influence, but I hear
Mhm.
also a fusion influence and a lot of electric band influence. So it's
Yeah.
very purposeful, that you all are pushing for a fusion thing, and that's cool because it's like it's dedicated. It's like this is on purpose. This is what we're trying to present. We're not trying to
Right.
homogenize it. This is
Right.
what it is. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's actually very cool, and it sounds like you all got together and rehearsed all the time. It's just
Yeah.
you could just tell it's a band. Um,
Yeah. So
when I
like Clarence,
Go ahead.
my bad. Are you so Clarence, the keyboardist,
Yeah,
this band situation, that's where the inspiration came from, the electric band.
got it.
The Four Corners is his baby.
Mhm,
That's his baby. He started the band with James and Ike, the
mhm.
guitar and the bassist. They were together for like already like 15 years before I even got in the band. I'm the
Oh,
newest
wow,
member.
wow.
Uh, so yeah, they've a lot of different drummers have been in the band, or a few different drummers. Like they used to do shows with Tony, another drummer, Tony Royster,
Mm.
another drummer named LeBron Remo, who's also amazing.
Oh, wow.
Uh, and then I came in the picture around 2013. But that was the electric band has always been the main influence of the Four Corners. But like you said too, is just still having that. We all came from church
Right,
and
right.
playing gospel, so still having that soulful
Yeah.
church influence as well. But that was the main influence though.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It was, to go see it live, it was just cool to hear a band making a statement, with original music. And you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It was just refreshing to hear that again because you see a lot of just, covers these days, which is cool, but it's
Mhm.
cool to also hear a band that's doing original music, that's making a statement. So, you're on the road a lot. I know you're very into health. Let's talk about that a little bit. So, when you go up on the road, I mean, obviously schedules get crazy and all that. And, I know I have to have coffee every day, man, because it's just, I don't know. I just need it. If I get off of it for a while, I can wean it. But other than that,
Yeah.
I have some coffee, right? So,
Right.
and dude, I have to divert. So as I'm putting my research together and I do my questions, and I use one of the AI platforms,
Mhm.
today out of all the days, I don't know how it's scrubbed or what it's scrubbed, but it has put details that I said nothing about. I mean, it was talking about how I just put in the head order for Remo. I didn't say anything about that.
Wow.
What I order at my coffee place, I'm dead. I mean, I'm talking about to the letter, and I didn't say that. It's getting
Wow.
it's getting crazy, man. This is we'll talk about this later, but this one scared me a little because it's like,
Oh,
I just finished my pre-show coffee being run with vanilla milk, with vanilla ice blended with oat milk or
wow.
latte. I mean, a vanilla latte with oat milk and a toasted blueberry scone.
And
How
that's
does
what
it
it
know?
said.
How does it know that I did that, man?
And, bro, they listening to us even if we don't know, bro. They always listening, bro.
We're gonna get back there, but when it comes to on the road, that is freaking me out, bro. When it comes to on the road, it made me want to throw my glasses. But it's like, what's your vibe on the road? Because bus time, weird sleep,
Right.
not some hotels have gyms. Some, what are
Mhm.
you doing to navigate that to keep yourself together while you're on the road?
So whenever I'm unable to work out on the road, like there are some days when we have off where I do get a chance to work out, but on days that I'm not able to work out, I just have a more strict diet on those days. So
Hmm.
like on days I would probably eat junk food or, I don't know, fried food or whatever. Those days I can work out. Other days where I can't work out, I may scrap all that. I might do no carbs. I might just do water and fruit, veggies, lean meats, stuff like that. So that's what I do. It's like I watch my diet. I try to watch my diet anyway,
Right,
but especially on days where I'm getting lack of sleep or not able to, work out, get any physical exercise in, then, I just watch my diet. Cause
right,
like, yeah, it's like for me, if I don't watch my diet, it's gonna go straight to my gut.
right. And
Yeah, that's
sluggish too on the road, and
yeah, yeah.
tough, man. Like, I've been out both ways, in shape and out of shape, and it ain't no fun
Mhm.
out of shape being on
It's
the
not.
road, man.
I mean, I've even noticed like sometimes when I am eating like burgers and fried foods and stuff like
Mhm.
that, like and not working out or exercising,
Yeah,
it shows up in my playing.
yeah,
As far as, like, how quick I get tired and, all that stuff, so I'm like, "Yeah, I gotta watch it," but that's my cue. Whenever I feel that, it's like, "Okay, I gotta get back on point."
yeah. I feel that, bro. I feel
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Oh man. Wait, do you hear that? I don't know.
Nah.
You don't hear that? Wait.
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's the big elephant in the room, AI. So when it comes to AI, in today's today.
Oh, boy, you got me, bro.
So I ask all my guests this, man. It's like, because everybody has a different take, and we've already established, you're way in tune with the electronics and all that stuff's going on, and you're producing, you're writing. What
Yeah.
what do you feel about AI, and have you used it obviously no real place to use it live yet, but have you used it in
Right.
your workflow? And it doesn't have to be the musical type, just in
Yeah.
your now because it's becoming a part of our life as we just talked about. Sometimes
Right. Right.
what is how do you feel about AI these days?
It kind of, I use it, first of all. Like, I
Yeah,
use it. Um, I guess I can understand the side of well, here's my take. 'Cause I've seen and heard, like, some, some artists, like, creating whole songs not really done by humans and releasing them just straight out.
Right.
I don't agree with that,
Right.
actually. But for me, it's more so about making it useful for you and using it as a tool
Yeah.
to help your brand, to help your process. And like
Yeah.
that's where I'm at with it. So like, for example, like Moises.
Mhm.
I use Moises. I've been using Moises for years to get stems and as a practice tool also, or if I'm programming,
Yep.
even if I'm programming sounds for the module for a show for triggers.
Yep.
I've used it that way. Now there's another platform I'm sure you probably already familiar with, Suno.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Suno. I've explored it. I've tried it because I was interested in it. I wanted to see what it could do.
Yeah.
Um, it's amazing. I'm not
Oh,
even gonna lie. Yeah, it's amazing what it could do on its own. But now, am I gonna take a song from it and release it? No,
right.
absolutely not. But as far as using it as a tool, like if you get writer's block, or it's like, okay, you've already tried everything and tried all your ideas, and nothing's coming out, and you just need some inspiration. I don't see anything wrong with getting some inspiration from it.
Right. Right.
And just and then creating, but not obviously not taking that and just releasing it right out. Like
Right.
I'm all for using AI as like tools to help our process.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
So
my
I,
thing with
I I feel that, and like I said, most people, you rarely get people that complain. I mean, people that complain usually are not really even doing stuff that It's usually
yeah,
the weird thing because everybody I know that's successful, that's working, has the same kind of philosophy about it.
yeah,
And I have my workflow with it for sure. I mean, I did a full AI album almost 2.5 years ago, just to mark where we were,
yeah,
things were going, and that's right when it was coming on. And no, I definitely use it, and the workflow with me though, obviously I don't just prompt and let them make a song. I upload a lot into it. I put a lot
exactly.
into it,
Yeah,
and
yep,
kind of regurgitate that and then make stems and then start overdubbing, just use it as part of the whole process. And
right,
it's been cool, man, because I can get around and program and all that, but I can't play bass or guitar or anything like that. So it's like it
right,
helps me in that way for sure when I'm just trying to do something and hear what I'm trying to hear. So and I know
right.
how to manipulate it pretty well, and have some other tricks I do with prompts and what have you. So, but
Yeah,
yeah, I'm glad you shared that, just to for me to validate once again another person that's doing their thing, and it's not a big,
yeah.
you know.
Nah, man, it's here to stay. So it's
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
you can
Exactly.
be mad about it all you want to. It's not going anywhere.
So
Just make
I
it
mean,
work for you.
you've done a lot of stuff, man. A lot of massive milestones. I'm not gonna say in a short period of time because I count
Mhm.
all the time leading up is still time, right?
Right.
So it's like you've been out here doing your thing, but now you're really starting to get some notoriety and what have you. And you got, tours on your belt, the album, the brand, and
Mhm.
clinics. You're worldwide with the clinics. So when you're looking in the next 5 years, what's the next 5 years look like for J-Rod Sullivan? What's your vision?
Man, you know what, man? I just recently released a drum course.
Ah,
Um,
talk about that.
like 3 days ago, and
Oh, awesome.
it's been doing amazing. And for me, I think my thing is like I'm like, man, I don't know what took me so long to do this, but I mean, I do because it's a lot of work that goes into it, especially in the beginning.
Yeah,
Like once it's done, it's just like you see the response from people. It's helping people. Like, man, I thank you for doing this and stuff like that. So like, I think where I'm at now, where I'm headed, is continuing to do what I'm doing, but also really pursue this educational side as well.
yeah,
Because like I've been doing some master classes and clinics here and there, but like as far as like online education and really offering the knowledge that I do have, I haven't gone full on with that yet. So I think for me that's another thing that I'm going to pursue in addition to still, touring and playing shows and like I said, just managing the brands that I do have.
that's right. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
beautiful, man. Giving back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, get back.
Information age, man. I mean, everything is accessible right on your phone. I mean, a lot of people can learn as much, as going
Right.
to school in a lot of cases on a lot of subjects, right?
They can. And I've had people reach out to me and asking is like, should I go to school or should I just get an instructor? And I always tell them, it just depends on what what you're looking for, what's the end goal.
Yeah.
And if they're like, tour and, play for different artists and stuff like that, I might say get an instructor who has experience in doing that,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
instead of going to a school. But I think there are benefits of going to a school as well, though, just being in a environment around people just like-minded, and also just networking opportunities, obviously, all that kind of stuff. So there are some, in my opinion, still some benefits, but like I said, it just depends on what the person is looking to do in the future and what's important to them.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. Well, I look forward to checking that out. If you want to plug it, we'll definitely put all the information down in the description
Yeah.
and, make sure everybody has access to that. But man, thank you so much for coming, bro. Ladies and
Sure, bro.
gentlemen, my brother J-Rod Sullivan, you know what I'm saying, out here doing this thing. And we really appreciate you stopping by the TrevBeats Show, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Man, what an incredible conversation. Huge thank you to J-Rod Sullivan for dropping by and sharing so much wisdom, not just about the drums, but about the hustle, the discipline, and the mindset it takes to win in this industry. If you haven't already, go stream his album, The Comeback, right now. Check out his incredible videos on YouTube and grab some Got Pocket gear. All of his links are down in the description. For everybody tuning in, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications, and leave a comment letting us know your favorite part of the interview. If you want to take your support to the next level, hit the link below to join our premium subscription tier. You'll get access to exclusive behind-the-scenes content, early episode drops, and a whole lot more. And while you're down there, make sure to swing by the merch store and grab your official TrevBeats Show gear. So keep locking in with us right here on the TrevBeats Show. Until next time, stay inspired, keep creating, and keep playing. Now go be great. We out.
It's the TrevBeats Show and we out. We out. We out. We out. We out. We out. It's the TrevBeats Show and we out. It's the TrevBeats. It's the TrevBeats Show and we out.